The sunscreen you've been putting on your skin before every round of golf, every fishing trip, every afternoon on the water, it contains chemicals that absorb straight through your skin and into your bloodstream, and you still get burned. The FDA's own scientists proved it in 2019 and published it in the most respected medical journal in America. The brands haven't changed the formula since. I spent weeks going through every major sunscreen brand in America. The ones poisoning you quietly, the ones hiding behind fake environmental claims, and the handful that are actually worth putting on your body. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which bottles to put back and the ones worth buying. Let's start with the villains. The chemicals doing the UV filtering work in most American sunscreens don't sit on top of your skin. They have to get inside your epidermis to do their job. That's not a side effect, that's the mechanism. The chemical absorbs through your skin, enters your bloodstream, and starts filtering UV rays from inside your body. The industry has known this for decades. That detail never made it to the front of the bottle. In 2019, the FDA published a study in JAMA, the Journal of the American Medical Association, finding that 4 common sunscreen chemicals absorbed into your bloodstream at levels exceeding their own safety threshold after a single application, not after years of use, one application. The study didn't conclude the chemicals were dangerous. It concluded that nobody had ever collected enough data to know either way. The industry had been selling these products for decades on the assumption that they were safe, and when the FDA's own scientists went looking for the proof, it wasn't there. The brands didn't change the formula. Nothing on the label changed. You kept buying it because there was no reason not to, and that was exactly the problem. The chemical showing up in the most bottles is oxybenzone, and it doesn't stay where you put it. It goes where you didn't invite it. Government studies found it in the blood of 97% of Americans tested, still present weeks after the last application. It behaves like a synthetic estrogen inside your body, binding to the same hormone receptors your body actually uses, and research has linked it to lower testosterone in men and estrogen disruption in women. That means it accumulates. It doesn't wash off between rounds of golf. Banana Boat Ultra Sport has been in American beach bags since 1976. The bright yellow bottle so familiar, it barely registers as a choice anymore. In 2021, Hawaii banned oxybenzone from its beaches because the chemical was bleaching coral reefs to death. Coral reefs are built by tiny animals that survive through a symbiotic relationship with photosynthetic algae living inside their tissue. Oxybenzone disrupts that relationship at concentrations as low as 1 drop in 6.5 Olympic swimming pools. The coral expels the algae, turns white, and starves. Hawaii watched it happen on their reefs and traced it back to the sunscreen washing off swimmers at Hanauma Bay. Someone at Banana Boat had a decision to make. They built a sunscreen version specifically for the Hawaiian market with a cleaner formula. They looked at the cost of rolling it out nationally. They looked at the shelves full of yellow bottles moving without complaint. They decided the cost would be too high, so they kept the formula the same. The bottle at your Walgreens still has oxybenzone. The bottle in a Maui surf shop doesn't. Then there's Banana Boat Kids. The bottle parents reach for specifically because it says kids on the label. It also contains oxybenzone. The brand that built its children's line around the idea of protection put the chemical with the most documented hormone disruption research into the bottle, designed for the smallest bodies. Coppertone Sport sells the double pack near the entrance at Costco, the one you toss in the cart without breaking stride. Also carries oxybenzone alongside a second chemical called homosalate. Homosalate penetrates the skin, accumulates faster than the body can eliminate it, and has been shown to interfere with estrogen, androgen, and progesterone. The European Union restricts its concentration in sunscreens because the safety data concerned regulators enough to act. The US has no equivalent restriction, which means that the Costco double pack contains homosalate at levels above what Europe considers acceptable. And you just bought 2 of them. Hawaiian Tropic Silk Hydration rounds out the trio, a brand whose entire identity is built around paradise, the reef. A deep respect for the ocean it's named after, it also contains oxybenzone. The brand named after Hawaii is selling you the chemical Hawaii made illegal. The coconut on the label is working harder than the formula inside it. 3 of the most recognized sunscreen brands in America. 1 shared ingredient. 1 shared decision to keep it in the bottle after the science got uncomfortable. Go grab the sunscreen in your bag right now. Zinc oxide or titanium dioxide means the formula sits on top of your skin. Nothing absorbs, nothing accumulates. If oxybenzone is present, you're holding the problem. Put it down and keep watching. When Hawaii banned oxybenzone and octinoxate in 2021, brands that had been selling the same chemical formula for decades suddenly discovered they cared deeply about coral reefs. Within months, reef-safe was appearing on bottles everywhere. New labels, premium pricing, a complete repositioning of products that had changed almost nothing about their actual formula. Reef-safe has no legal definition, not one word of regulation behind it anywhere in the United States. Any brand can print it on any bottle containing any ingredient, which is exactly what most of them did. They removed the two chemicals with specific legal bans, swapped in different chemical filters that the government's own ocean scientists separately flagged as harmful to marine life, called the result reef-safe, and raised the price. The label changed. The reef didn't get the memo, and you paid more for the upgrade. Sunbum built its entire identity around being the brand that surfers and ocean lovers could trust. The gorilla mascot named Sunny, the vintage aesthetic, reef-safe printed in warm, friendly type right on the front. In 2025, the Federal Trade Commission fined Sunbum $300,000 for falsely marketing its products as safe for marine life. The oxybenzone was gone, but the replacement chemicals, avobenzone, octocrylene, and homosalate, were all on NOAA's own concern list for marine ecosystems. $300,000 is what Sunbum makes before lunch on a summer Friday. The gorilla is still smiling on the bottle. The store brand versions played the same game with even less shame. Target's Up and Up sunscreen was sued in 2024 for marketing itself as reef-conscious, while containing a full lineup of chemicals on the government's marine hazard list. Target's defense in court was essentially that reef-conscious didn't make a specific environmental claim, which is precisely the point. None of these phrases make a specific claim. That's why they use them. If you're standing in the sunscreen aisle right now and reef-safe is on the front of the bottle, flip it. If the active ingredients aren't zinc oxide or titanium dioxide, put it back. The front label is a story. The back label is the truth. Reef-safe, reef-friendly, ocean-conscious. None of these phrases are regulated. The only claim tied to an actual law is oxybenzone-free because that's the ingredient with a real ban behind it. If the active ingredients on the bottle aren't zinc oxide or titanium dioxide, put it back. You're on the water at 7 in the morning. You apply Copper Tone Sport before you leave the dock. The label says water resistant for 80 minutes. It says broad spectrum. It says SPF 50. You feel covered for the day and don't give it a second thought. The FDA defines water resistant as the sunscreen maintaining its SPF rating after 80 minutes of water immersion in a controlled lab test. Not sweating on a boat in July heat. Not reapplying after you towel off. A lab test. After 80 minutes of actual outdoor activity, sweating, wiping your face, touching your skin, the effective SPF on your skin is a fraction of what the label says. The sport category uses higher concentrations of chemical filters to achieve that water resistance rating. Copper Tone Sport, Banana Boat Sport Ultra, and Neutrogena Beach Defense all use oxybenzone, homosalate, and avobenzone at higher concentrations than their standard formulas. Higher concentration to achieve the water resistance claim means higher absorption into your bloodstream. The product designed for maximum outdoor activity delivers maximum chemical exposure. Banana Boat Sport Mineral sounds like the clean answer. Mineral is right there in the name. The active ingredient is zinc oxide, which is true, but the inactive ingredients include several compounds that raise the same questions the conventional formula does. The word mineral on the front describes one ingredient. It doesn't describe everything else in the bottle. The sport sunscreen category was built around one insight. People outdoors feel more exposed than when indoors and will pay more for a product that promises to match their activity level. The formula that matches your activity level is the formula with the highest chemical concentration. Nobody mentioned that part on the label. Water-resistant 80 minutes means a lab test, not 80 minutes on a boat in July heat. After real outdoor activity, the effective SPF on your skin is a fraction of what the label advertised. Reapply every 2 hours, regardless of what the sport label says. If you don't burn, you're protected. That's the assumption the entire sunscreen industry is built on and has never corrected. UVB rays cause sunburn. SPF measures UVB protection only. UVA rays don't burn you. You cannot feel them working. They penetrate deeper into the skin, break down collagen, and drive the DNA damage that builds toward melanoma over years and decades. You can spend a full day in the sun, never burn, and have received significant UVA damage because the sunscreen blocked the UVB that would have told you something was happening. The absence of a burn is not evidence of protection. It's evidence that one type of radiation was blocked while another type worked on you silently. SPF 30 blocks 97% of UVB rays. SPF 50 blocks 98%. That gap is 1% of sunburn protection. Manufacturers push higher SPF numbers by stacking chemical boosters that inflate the UVB rating without improving UVA coverage, because a bigger number wins the shelf war at the store. And winning the shelf war is the whole game. Neutrogena Beach Defense SPF 70 looks like the serious choice. Clinical packaging, dermatologist recommended right on the front. It feels like someone did the homework so you didn't have to. They didn't. The formula contains avobenzone as its UVA filter, and avobenzone has a problem nobody at the register ever mentions. It breaks down in sunlight. After about an hour outside, it stops working. So 2 hours into your round of golf, the cancer protection has quietly quit while the sunburn protection keeps going. You don't burn, you feel fine. The label still says SPF 70. And the rays that cause melanoma have been hitting unprotected skin since the third hole. The dermatologist recommendation on the label applies to Neutrogena's mineral line. The packaging was designed so you'd never think to ask which one you were holding. Neutrogena Ultra Sheer SPF 45 runs the same avobenzone problem in a lighter, more comfortable formula. And comfort is exactly what makes it dangerous. It goes on easy, disappears into the skin, and feels like nothing, which means you stop thinking about it. But avobenzone is still breaking down in the sun, whether you can feel it or not. By the back nine, you have sunburn protection and degraded UVA coverage, in a bottle that never told you there was a difference between the two. The number on the front of the bottle is a sunburn measurement dressed up as cancer protection. Those are not the same job. Check the sunscreen you use every morning before you head outside. If avobenzone is the UVA filter, that protection is degrading while you're out there. We are getting close to the sunscreen brands you should put on your skin. SPF only measures sunburn protection. It tells you nothing about the rays linked to skin cancer and aging. Your sunscreen protection quietly shrinks the longer you stay outside. Don't bother with the labels. Reapply anyway. The last time the United States approved a new sunscreen filter was in the 1990s. Meanwhile, the European Union has approved over 30, updating the list continuously as better science emerged. America has 16, the same 16 that have been linked to bloodstream absorption and hormone disruption, while Europe kept improving sunscreen formulas to protect its citizens. The American sunscreen industry kept lobbying to leave things exactly as they were. Since 2002, 8 safer and more effective filters have been sitting in FDA review. 4 of them, Tinosorb S, Tinosorb M, Mexaryl SX, and Mexaryl XL, have been used safely across Europe since the 1990s. They sit on top of the skin. They don't absorb through it. They block UVA rays more effectively than avobenzone, the best UVA filter currently available to any American brand, and unlike avobenzone, these new filters don't break down in sunlight. Better protection, cleaner profile, stable in the sun, and have been available to French consumers before Google existed. Every major American brand, Coppertone, Banana Boat, Neutrogena, Hawaiian Tropic, Sunbum, is working with the same outdated toolkit because the regulatory ceiling is the same for all of them. The EWG estimates that most sunscreens sold in America would fail European market standards for UVA protection. The SPF number on the American bottle looks identical to the European bottle next to it at the pharmacy. What's inside is not the same thing. Reformulation costs money. The brands selling cheap chemical formulas have had every financial incentive to keep the FDA approval process moving as slowly as possible. If you want European-level UVA protection right now, without waiting for the FDA, La Roche-Posay and Helios is at CVS and Walgreens today. Pick it up and compare the active ingredients to whatever's in your bag. The gap between those two labels is 25 years of regulatory delay sitting in a bottle. 2 words are the answer to everything in this video: zinc oxide. 2 words on the back label that mean the formula stays on your skin instead of entering your bloodstream. That the UVA protection works at hour 3 the same way it worked at application. That nothing in the bottle is quietly interfering with the hormones your body has been regulating without chemical assistance since the day you were born. Blue Lizard Australian Sunscreen. SPF 50 Plus earns its place at Walmart, Target, and Costco, sitting on the same aisle as every bottle you just learned to avoid. With zinc oxide and titanium dioxide as its only active ingredients, and nothing in the formula that ends up anywhere it wasn't invited. The bottle turns blue in UV light, a quiet reminder that the sun is hitting you even when you can't feel it. EWG has rated it among the safest sunscreens in America for 6 consecutive years. It costs about the same as the copper tone double pack you've been buying without thinking about it. Ultimate UV Sport SPF 50 is built for people who actually stay outside. Zinc oxide only, water resistant for 80 minutes, and the formula holds up through a full round of golf or a morning on the water without degrading while you're not paying attention. This is the bottle engineered specifically for people who sweat through their sunscreen and have been assuming reapplication covers everything. It does. This does it better. Without the chemical exposure the sport category has been charging you for. Badger Active Mineral Sunscreen SPF 40 does the same job with an ingredient list shorter than this sentence. Zinc oxide, sunflower oil, beeswax. Nothing that requires a chemistry degree to understand, and nothing that ends up in your bloodstream doing a job it wasn't hired for. The photostability of zinc oxide means it's working the same way at hour 3 that it was at the beginning, which is exactly what avobenzone stops delivering after the first hole. La Roche-Posay Anthelios Melt in Milk SPF 60 is the imported French formula sitting 2 feet away from the Neutrogena that's been overselling its UVA protection for just as long. It contains Mexaryl SX, a UVA filter unavailable in any domestic American sunscreen. Lightweight, no white cast, doing the same job at hour 3 that it was doing at application. Your dermatologist in Paris has been recommending this for 30 years. It's at CVS right now. CeraVe Hydrating Mineral Sunscreen solved the one problem that sends most people back to the chemical bottle: the white cast. Zinc oxide and titanium dioxide formulated with hyaluronic acid and ceramides, so it disappears into your skin instead of sitting on top of it like chalk. The reason most people reach for Neutrogena Ultra Sheer every morning isn't loyalty. The mineral alternative left a white residue they couldn't live with. CeraVe removed that excuse, and it's at every drugstore in America at a price that makes the chemical version harder to justify every time you know what you know now. In 1938, a Swiss chemist named Franz Greider got sunburned climbing a mountain in the Alps. He spent years developing a protective cream, called it Glacier Cream, and later invented the concept of SPF, Sun Protection Factor. In 1962, the measurement tool the entire sunscreen industry still uses today came from one man who got burned on a mountain and decided to do something about it. In 1944, an American pharmacist named Benjamin Green developed a thick red protective jelly for U.S. soldiers burning in the Pacific. After the war, he refined it and sold it as Coppertone Suntan Cream. The Coppertone Girl debuted in 1953, one of the most recognized advertising images in American history. Those early formulas used zinc oxide and titanium dioxide, physical blockers that sat on top of the skin and reflected UV radiation. They worked. They were also thick and white and cosmetically unacceptable to a generation of consumers who wanted to look like they weren't wearing anything. So the industry shifted to chemical filters in the 1970s and 1980s. Oxybenzone, avobenzone, octinoxate, lightweight, invisible, absorbed through the skin to do their job, which the chemists understood and the consumers were never told. The formula that started as zinc oxide on a lifeguard's nose became a pressurized can of oxybenzone and butane. The product changed completely. The promise on the label stayed exactly the same. Zinc oxide was always the answer. It was the first answer. We just spent 50 years being sold a more elegant version of something that was never broken. I went through every major sunscreen brand in America, and the answer came down to 2 words every single time: zinc oxide. 2 words on the back label that mean the formula stays on your skin instead of entering your bloodstream. The UVA protection works at hour 3 the same way it worked at application. And nothing in the bottle is quietly interfering with the hormones your body has been managing without any help since the day you were born. Comment B to E if you made it to the end. Subscribe and become a member to support us, and check out the grocery store cheat sheet in the description. It's everything we expose on this channel in one printable guide. Thanks for watching.